Yeah, certainly. Some of his biggest accomplishments include a 9th place at the 2013 Pokemon World Championships, back in the day, representing the Leopard and Breloom combination, and also a top 8 at the 2016 Pokemon World Championships. So yeah, he's someone who's really, he knows how it feels to play on the very big stage.
And will he be able to make it into another top cut with this team of Smeargle, Tapu Lele, Kartana, Drifblim, Xurkitree and Arcanine, going up against Rafael Montez, who's going to be using Arcanine, Tapu Lele, Alolan Ninetales, Mandibuzz, Alolan Muck and that Garchomp.
Yeah, so Rafa's team, with that Mandibuzz option, where other people have used the Porygon 2 or the Celesteela before, he really trusts his Mandibuzz to do some stuff, and I wouldn't be super surprised if we also saw it in this battle. But Barry on the other side, coming through with a couple of Pokemon that we haven't really seen to making too much of an impact in this stream particularly, but that have had great success over the duration of past season with that Drifblim. With a combination of Psychic Seed and Unburden, doubling its speed and also getting some special defense boost if it leads off alongside the Tapu Lele. Really something that trainers have started using as soon as Tailwind became an option available on the Drifblim. Maybe now it feels like it's already a little bit out of fashion, but Barry really bringing it back here to the big table.
Well, I can't wait to see how these trainers are going to shake up here in the final round of the Bilbao Special Championships. Barry Anderson against Rafael Montez of Spain, and we're just going to kick it into this next first turn. But Marcus, Smeargle, Xurkitree, what an interesting combination that we haven't seen on stream thus far. I don't think we've seen it too much in European contests at this point. Do you think it's going to be a big deal in this matchup?
And another fellow player that Barry also likes to play with, Jamie Boyd, has also really popularized that combination that him and Barry there came up with. And we're actually not seeing the Smeargle and Xurkitree for this very first game here. But yeah, it's a very, very strong combination because Xurkitree's Tail Glow allows it to just boost its special attack set so much. And then with the Smeargle, of course, supporting it, drawing away the attention from the Xurkitree can be really good. But instead, Barry opts to lead off with that pretty standard Drifblim and Tapu Lele lead. And I wouldn't be too surprised if Rafael exactly anticipated that lead.
Yeah,
an option at least.
With the Muck option there, it does do threaten super effective damage onto that Tapu Lele with a Poison Jab or a Gunk Shot. But Drifblim here in the option to be able to throw out a Will-O-Wisp onto that Muck and neuter the amount of damage it could do later on in the game. Yeah,
Rafael actually leading off with 2 Dark types. On the one hand, it's nice for Barry's Tapu Lele because with Moonblast he can do a ton of damage to that Mandibuzz, but on the other hand his Drifblim also is under a lot of pressure for some potential Dark type attacks. We are seeing that Will-O-Wisp just as you expected though.
Yeah, and a Moonblast, as you called Marcus, going to go into that Mandibuzz. So Mandibuzz going to take a nice amount of damage here, just get down into the yellow, but it's activating one of those Pinch Berries, which is an item we don't see too often, and we saw it on stream from Rafael earlier. We see that the Mandibuzz itself is going to go for the taunt into the Drifblim here. So
okay. No more Will-O-Wisps.
Yeah, a nice turn there, because obviously if Shadow Ball is the only attacking move that Drifblim has, this is not going to be doing too much damage to Mandibuzz or Muck.
Yeah, at first I was wondering a little bit. I was like, wait, did I miss the the Psychic Seed activating on the Mandibuzz? No, you don't have to use that item on the Mandibuzz, even though it's of course very, very good, as we've seen, for example, also in the very first round with Alex Gomez using that Mandibuzz with the Misty Seed, because getting that special defense boost and then alongside Roost and Tailwind, it's just, Mandibuzz is just so difficult to take down. But with that 50% Barry, he might even potentially be able to take another Moonblast, and now Barry really has to come up with a way of dealing with that Muck, because while Will-O-Wisp seemed like a very nice choice for the first turn, now after that taunt it's kind of difficult to do that. So yeah, he withdraws the Tapu Lele knowing that a potential poison type attack could come, and he has to do something about that.
Yeah, so unable to drop the Will-O-Wisp onto the Muck to reduce its physical attack damage, instead going to drop an Intimidate with the Arcanine coming in now. Mandibuzz is going to be leaving the field as well. It's managed to get the taunt onto Drifblim, so its job is kind of done here. Arcanine on Rafa's side of the field is going to come now and get another Intimidate onto the Arcanine on Barry's side. So both physical attackers on the field now having their attack dropped, and a Shadow Ball coming out from that Drifblim. Going to do some chip damage to the Muck, not too much there.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't want to really go for the Shadow Ball into the Mandibuzz, but it would have done a little more damage to that Arcanine than it did to that Alolan Muck. But Barry realizing that it's too obvious to just switch out the Drifblim that can't really do anything at this point anymore, decides to stay in, and that knockoff getting the critical hit might actually help Barry a little bit, because that Drifblim really wasn't doing too much anymore. But now he gets the free switch into his circuitry is what he decided to go for here.
Yeah, so the Drifblim leaving the field and getting a free switch into circuitry is nice, but it does limit the amount of switching potential that Barry has for later on in the game. With Arcanine on this side of the field, maybe Barry has the opportunity to go for a bulldoze to hit Muck super effectively and lower the opposing Arcanine's attack, maybe protecting circuitry here from some sort of damage, but Muck with the knockoff is going to be such a problem.
Yeah, it'll be super difficult for Barry to actually take down that Muck. Actually, all 4 Pokemon that he brought to this game don't really like facing down against Muck, and I'm already looking at what he has. Yeah, like his last 2 Pokemon that he didn't bring to this battle are the Smeargle and the Cortana, and neither of those actually also have a particularly great matchup against the Muck. So yeah, really getting up that Tail Glow from circuitry at some point might be something that Barry probably wants to incorporate his play at some point.
So we are going to see a bulldoze coming out, circuitry protecting itself, Muck taking some super effective damage here, but more importantly getting the speed drop onto that Arcanine, just ensuring that circuitry and Arcanine will be able to move first for Barry. We're going to see another knockoff going off from that Muck onto the Arcanine.
Ooh. And the roar. Yeah, so now since Drifblim went down, now yeah, it's clear that the Tapu Lele has to come in from the roar and is forced to is dragged out here. And yeah, good call with a bulldoze, but now I think actually with Tapu Lele on the field, like even though Muck can't really threaten it with a poison type attack, Tapu Lele now has also the option to go for a strong psychic move into the Arcanine.
So he can threaten into that slot as well, but Muck getting the knockoff onto Arcanine didn't knock off any items.
Yeah, that's actually true. So yeah, we're probably looking at a Z move Arcanine there, and that could be one other way to deal with it alone in Muck. And yeah, in terms of Raphael's Pokemon that he has in the back, that Mandibus could now also make an appearance for that Arcanine to get another round of Intimidate on that. Now that we know that it has a Fire Crystal, a Z Crystal on that Arcanine. And yeah, we're actually seeing Arcanine from Raphael switch out, but instead of the Mandibus, we're seeing the Tapu Lele coming in here.
Ooh, and a helping hand coming out from the Arcanine here, just to be able to adjust the Tapu Lele's damage. Is going to go for the Moonblast. This is going to be into the Muck. It is, so this could do some nice damage here. Will it pick up the knockout? It does. Really, really smart move there from Barry to be able to boost that Moonblast damage onto that Muck and get rid of a real problem Pokemon.
Oh wow, yeah, I actually didn't expect that to knock out the Muck, but it looks like Barry was really really aware of his damage calculation there with a bulldoze, just doing enough tip damage, and then also really a great strength of him with a roar. It was probably not something that he expected, but then all of it, like that shuffled around his board entirely, and all of a sudden he was there with the Tapu Lele instead of the circuitry that he had expected, and yeah, he had to do something with that, right? So he couldn't just like be like, oh wow, that really threw me off, now what do I do? But instead he like kept his composure, decided, okay, now I can help him and Moonblast, and my opponent will probably not see this coming. And yeah, he got that Muck that we were talking about, that we thought would be such a big threat for him to take down. And now we're in a Arcanine Tapu Lele mirror, kinda.
Yeah, like you said earlier, Marcus, the option to hit Arcanine with a huge Psychic type attack in Psychic Terrain could be something that Barry wants to go for here, as we see yet another helping hand go onto that Tapu Lele. Instead, it's going to be the Moonblast targeting down the Tapu Lele on Raphael's side of the field, surviving in the red now. Another Moonblast returning from the Tapu Lele onto Barry's Tapu Lele, taking it down to just under half HP.
This could be a double target, as it seems the flab is coming out from Arcanine. Yep, also into that Tapu Lele, and that will be enough to get the knockout here on this Tapu Lele. That was the fastest Pokemon on the field that previous turn. And now, yeah, Barry is down to his last 2 Pokemon as Psychic Terrain runs out though.
Yeah, so a really breakneck couple of turns just there. Lots of Pokemon being knocked out in fell swoop. Arcanine revealing Helping Hand, really doing well against the Muck there, but not being able to pick up the Tapu Lele wasn't a bit of an issue for Barry.
Yeah, now with Psychic Terrain being over, Extreme Speed is actually something that Barry can go for to knock out this Tapu Lele, which usually isn't something that you have available, since Psychic Terrain obviously blocks priority moves. But now that could be something that Barry might look into, and depending on whether Raphael thinks that his Tapu Lele can outspeed the Arcanine and the circuitry, it might also be or make some sense for him to withdraw the Tapu Lele, bring in the Mandibus, maybe set up Tailwind, and then coming back later with the Psychic Terrain active.
Yeah, that would be a good way to adjust the damage output that he has with that Tapu Lele, and just keep an extra Pokemon in the back. With Xurkitree though, we see a lot of Xurkitree running those 50% or pinch berries to be able to boost up with Tail Glow, take an attack, and then get a little bit of health back as well. Xurkitree in an interesting position where if it manages to get a boost up, it could be putting out a lot of damage. Mandibuzz coming in for the Tapu Lele now, so Circuitry is just going to protect those.
Yeah, so could be the bulldoze coming out from Barry's end.
Yeah, a play that we've seen earlier in the match. He does really want to make sure that his Arcanine and Circuitry are in the best position possible to be able to move first. Bulldoze going to hit super effectively onto that Arcanine, lowering its speed by 1 stage. Mandibuzz obviously not taking any damage or a speed drop because it's a flying type.
Yeah, and then also the Flare Blitz coming out from Raphael's Arcanine into the protective circuitry. So, yeah, there was an opportunity for Barry to set up that tail glow right here, but now it's going to be tough because not only does he have to take out both the Mandibuzz and the Arcanine, his own Arcanine, like Barry's Arcanine, might want to use that Z move at some point because, yeah, without that, the damage potential against both Mandibuzz and the Arcanine is just like pretty slim. Though Circuitry, on the other hand, has a pretty decent matchup against both the Mandibuzz and the Arcanine, especially if what we would expect this Circuitry's item to be, if that is one of those pinch berries. Because recovering health could really help him a lot here.
Another helping hand coming out from that Arcanine, going to be able to crank up the damage that Circuitry's going to do. It's moving very fast here, and it's going to drop the Mandibuzz, a huge Thunderbolt, taking Mandibuzz out in 1 hit. So another Pokemon going down for Raphael here, and a Beast Boost going onto that Circuitry.
Yeah, who needs Tail Glow? He can just like KO something and get the boost that way. So now let's see how much Flare Blitz is going to do here. Not quite enough to activate a potential berry, but over half.
Ooh.
Actually, it does activate a berry. Wow, this is a citrus berry as it seems. So not using one of those traditional 50% berries, but
that's the last time I saw one of those.
Yeah, that's actually so funny how that now comes off as a surprise, whereas in previous years of VGC, that was just such a staple. And now we're down in that 2 against 2 situation where the Tapu Lele comes in and sets up the psychic terrain again so that potential extreme speed from Arcanine can't touch it. And now the question is, like, can Tapu Lele outspeed both Arcanine and the Circuitry? And if it does, is Psychic enough to get the KO? And does he even hit the right target? Because, of course, Barry can also protect his Pokemon. So there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of mind games. And even though Barry's Pokemon are the ones that are still in the green in terms of health,
not anymore.
Rafa could definitely take this win here.
Yeah, and he did make the right target there with that Tapu Lele Psychic knocking out the Arcanine. Circuitry returns in kind with another Thunderbolt, getting its 2nd Beast Boost of the match. And Arcanine on Raphael's side of the field, if it goes for this...
it has to go for Bulldoze, or else this fight is it enough? I
don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be enough, yeah.
No, surviving in the red, and Circuitry has proven that it is faster. Oh no, with the berry, but still, I mean, with +2 boosts, Circuitry will be able to knock out Arcanine this turn.
Yeah, super difficult situation for both of those players to try and think about, oh, what could happen if he targets that. Maybe Bulldoze was the right play to like go through with what Rafa was expecting, even though it would have meant that he was targeting down his own Tapu Lele. But then again, what happens if the Circuitry just uses Protect, right? So in the end, Barry will come out victorious here in this encounter. And despite the fact that at the very beginning of the game he had a lot of trouble with that Muck, the turn where he went for Helping Hand Moonblast and get the knockout when we weren't expecting it, then his opponent probably also wasn't expecting it. So that really turned the tides, and all of a sudden Barry found himself in a position where in the end he was able to just clean the game with that Circuitry.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Bulldoze in this format now. It's become such a popular move, especially on Pokemon like Arcanine and also on Salamence, which we've seen a little bit every now and then in World Championships and also in here. But being able to adjust the speed tiers and get a little bit of damage, especially on the Muck, was proving really important. Yes. And then for Circuitry to then be able to outspeed everything, it looks like it's a speedy Circuitry anyway. So with Circuitry being able to outspeed and threaten knockouts, then Barry can actually find chances to use Tail Glow as well. So Rafa has to find himself in a difficult position where if he leaves Circuitry alone, it's either going to boost up on him or he's going to pick up knockouts.
Yeah, and the thing is also with the threat of Tail Glow, even though he didn't even use it this game, it's always there. So Raphael had to go for the Flare Blitz into the Circuitry, or felt like he had to do it, because if he didn't, and if the Circuitry just got up the Tail Glow that turn, then it's so difficult to come back from that. So it's always the game of whether, hey, on the one hand I really want to attack the Circuitry, but on the other hand it just could go for the Protect and Bulldoze and slow me down.
If you were Barry going into this next game, do you think, okay, the Pokemon that I chose last time worked for me, I have a good strategy, or do you think that he really needs to double down on a way to sort out this Muck in a different light?
I think he could try and go for that, maybe focusing a little more on Circuitry, maybe either trying to like really set up the Tailwind early on and then setting up circuitry as soon as he can, or maybe just go with that Smeargle and circuitry combination as a lead. We did see the Mandibuzz and the Muk being a lead from Raphael in the previous game, and I think if he chose those two against Smeargle and circuitry, yeah, Barry would just say thank you and go for something like Spore and Tail Glow and then have a very strong position. So I think, yeah, Smeargle circuitry is something that we could see coming from Barry, especially after now he's seen that, yeah, with that Muk is just so difficult to take down for him.
Here we go, Game 2 in the final round of the Swiss here at the Pokemon 2017 Bilbao Special Championships. Barry Anderson is 1-up against Rafael Montes, and we are about to kick it into this next game, all to play for Rafael.
Yeah, certainly, and yeah, he must have liked how Alolan Muk was able to really threaten so much damage and against everything all the time, and yeah, let's see if he decides to go with the same thing again. Yeah, both players switching it up. We do see the Smeargle and circuitry combination that we were talking about, while Raphael also decides to not go with a very passive lead that he chose last time, where Mandibuzz wasn't really doing too much. It just got off the taunt and then it had to switch because of how threatening the Tapu Lele was. But yeah, with that Alolan Ninetales now also setting up the rain, breaking the focus sash on the Smeargle. I think that's a better Pokemon to have over the potential Mandibuzz that he brought in the previous game.
Do you imagine that Ninetales will go for a spread move, say like a Blizzard or a Icy Wind here to try and control the circuitry a little bit more and break a potential focus sash onto the Smeargle?
Yeah, these days you don't really know what the hex Ninetales really have. A lot of them these days opt to not even have Blizzard anymore, so yeah, it's kind of interesting, and we'll see probably just a Protect and Spore play from Barry to get a little bit of, get some free turns here, but this Ninetales does carry Blizzard and is doing a decent amount of damage to that Smeargle.
Protect and Spore is the order of the day. Ninetales is going to take a little nap now, so first turn sleep of Ninetales will be next turn, so Muk able to get the knockoff here onto the Smeargle and eliminate it from the rest of the game, so a really dodgy Pokemon removed in the first turn.
Yeah, certainly. So the Smeargle was able to put that Ninetales to sleep, so we won't see any Aurora Veil anytime soon, but Muk, Barry really hoped that the Muk would probably attack into the circuitry's Protect, because the next turn, of course, he has a free Spore into the Muk and set up the Tail Glow. This didn't happen, so yeah, this is actually something really cool that I thought Barry might go for, is bringing Drifblim and potentially Tapu Lele in the back, so that you can set up Tail Glow early on and then set up Tailwind, and then all of a sudden you're very fast and you're very strong and you just KO everything. So that sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, and also he's got the opportunity to Will-O-Wisp the Muk this turn and get rid of another threat that does physical damage and also would stop Circuitry from setting up. So he's got lots of options available to him if he wants to go straight for the Tailwind and Tail Glow, double tails, or if he wants to go for the Will-O-Wisp onto the Muk and set up Tail Glow at the same time and just get the boost going there, but then he might run into the issue of, oh, Ninetales is still going to sleep this turn.
Yeah, however though, with Raphael played this first turn, that definitely didn't go according to what Barry was hoping. Since now Smeargle is already eliminated, that Muk has a free knockoff into the circuitry, which would remove the Barry, and then yeah, it's still unclear how Raphael can, how Barry can proceed from there. Even if he sets up that Tailwind and the Tail Glow, he would need to set up, both of those to outspeed, for example, that Tapu Lele and get the KO on the Alolan Muk on Raphael's side.
Oh, a Disable going to go off into that Muk there, so no knockoffs coming off this turn. So Muk is going, yeah, a really, really nice play from Drifblim. And Drifblim is such a toolbox of a Pokemon. There's so many different great options it has available to it. And now this turn, Circuitry is going to be slower than the Tapu Lele we imagine, but Drifblim with the Unburden ability now active should be able to set up a Tailwind.
Very, very cool. So we were thinking about using Will-O-Wisp to limit Muk's damage output, but as I was saying, it still does its job, still removes the barrier and still therefore does a ton of damage to the circuitry effectively. However, with Disable, you're really removing a knockoff as an option for that Muk, and now we can see just a Protect and Tailwind potentially to make sure that that circuitry is faster than anything on Raphael's side, and yeah, that looks like such a strong option, and Barry really doesn't see any reason not to go for that, I would imagine.
So Protect coming out from that Circuitry, and here goes a Tailwind. So Circuitry is a major threat at this point in time.
Yes.
Psychic coming out from Tapu Lele, not reading into the Protect there, going straight for the damage onto the Drifblim. Does a nice chunk, takes it down below half HP, and a Poison Jab going onto that slot as well. So Raphael making the smart decision not to target that Circuitry, knowing that Drifblim will be the Pokemon being active this turn, and the Hail just leaves it with 4 HP.
Yeah, so we gotta imagine that Barry's last Pokemon is probably the Tapu Lele, because he did decide to bring the Drifblim, And yeah, without the Tapu Lele, unless he was banking on his opponent to bring the Tapu Lele, which is also what happened here. So yeah, definitely a cool option that Barry is implementing here, leading off with Smirglin's circuitry and then bringing the Drifblim in the back. But either way, Drifblim, while it can go for a Shadow Ball into the Tapu Lele would probably be able to take that attack and then still fire back with a strong Psychic into the circuitry. So if you're Barry, maybe you would have actually preferred that Drifblim to go down, maybe get a free switch into something that is a little bit more threatening, but then again, we don't really know what he has in the back. Rafa, on the other hand, decides to keep the Tapu Lele around for when Tailwind is over, because we got confirmation that Tapu Lele does outspeed Barry's circuitry in the first game.
Yeah, so Drifblim once again going to go for a disable onto Barry's Pokemon, and we see the attack going into Muck's Protect now. The switch in for Ninetale is free, and Drifblim finally goes down.
Yeah, so Barry is down to his last 2 Pokemon, but he has everything he wanted. He got his setup through, he has the boosted circuitry in Tailwind, and now let's see what his last Pokemon is. I think Kartana would be such a game changer potentially, but I guess it has to be the Tapu Lele.
Yeah, you imagine with the pairing, it makes sense, because relying on Raphael to bring Tapu Lele would be a very big call to make. But maybe he just thought, okay, well, I know it outspeeds the Muck, and that's the thing that I really wanted to deal with, so he had the option to go for it. But Barry's taking a little bit of time to think about what he wants to do here.
Yeah, certainly, and Rafa really making a good switch there. Also, credits to him for just stalling out 1 turn of Tailwind with Barry not really doing anything.
And that's all important when you've got a Pokemon like Xurkitree on the field, and you know that one of the Pokemon in Raphael's party will be able to knock it out, or outspeed it at least, later on in the turn. Making sure that you eat into those Tailwind turns is super, super important.
Yeah, so you gotta imagine that the Circuitry probably now wants to go for a Thunderbolt to knock out that Alolan Muck, and Tapu Lele will probably launch an attack into the Ninetale, since, yeah, you just can't let that be sitting there asleep, because it will wake up eventually, and if it then goes for something like the Icy Wind or something to get some more speed control on this end, then yeah, even that Arcanine that Rafa now switches in would outpace the Circuitry.
So Xurkitree in a position where it could be picking up a huge knockout. The Intimidate from Arcanine not really mattering too much this turn. Moonblast coming out from Tapu Lele first though. It is going to go into that Ninetales. It's going to do some nice damage and break any potential Focus Sash. We see the special attack drop as well, which could be interesting if Ninetales should wake up. Thunderbolt's going to go into that Arcanine, and it's just coming in to get bopped straight out.
Yeah, seeing the Moonblast here might either indicate that Barry was potentially fishing for a Mandibuzz switch in, or that his Tapu Lele might have a Choice Scarf as the item, because that would not allow him to switch from the more powerful Psychic that doesn't really do too much damage to Tapu Lele and Alolan Muck that we have already confirmed to be on Raphael's selection.
So smart decision there.
Yeah, if that is the case. And yeah, so Alolan Muck is coming back in, but it's really just at the it's just really just there to grab for that Circuitry for Barry. So I don't really see if there's any counterplay for Raphael anymore.
Yeah, the Tailwind option is running out slowly for Barry, but with this Xurkitree boosted so mightily and Tapu Lele in a position to knock out the Ninetales this turn, Xurkitree to threaten the Muck, which you imagine would protect just to waste a turn, but Xurkitree will be able to outspeed it next turn, and then Barry in a position where if he can survive and Psychic Terrain goes down, Xurkitree in a position to pick up the big knockout onto Tapu Lele.
Yeah, so now no Protect coming out from the Muck.
So Muck's going to eat a Moonblast here.
Ooh,
so
actually.
So we're going to see the Berry activate onto the Muck now, so it's going to eat its way back up and get some more HP now. Xurkitree still yet to move. It's going to drop another Thunderbolt. Who's it going to go into? It's going to go into that Muck, so maybe Barry was just trying to build in for a switch out, and also just trying to make sure that it didn't have to deal with the Berry, but maybe a little bit of over damage there.
Or maybe he just wanted that Ninetales to stay around, and so that his opponent would not get that free switch into the Tapu Lele for the next turn.
And Ninetales does wake up, does manage to get a Blizzard off onto the Tapu Lele, Xurkitree avoiding there. So outside of Hail, Ninetales limited in his option that he can perform. Tapu Lele now coming back in. If it's going to outspeed this Xurkitree, then Barry could be in a bit of an issue where his most high-powered Pokemon is under direct threat.
Yeah, in the previous game, it did outspeed the Xurkitree, so it looks like though, yeah, since Blizzard didn't connect with the Xurkitree, I think it might just be like barely outside of range for a Psychic, and if that Tapu Lele from Barry in fact holds the Choice Scarf, it would outspeed the Ninetales of Raphael, get the KO there, and then circuitry from Barry could probably take an attack from Tabulele off Raphael and then launch back the Thunderbolt.
This could be a pretty big turn.
Yeah, if all of what I just said is true, then I don't really see how Barry could lose this, but yeah, let's see here. Raphael is trying to stall out another turn here, just going for the Protect, but Circuitry also goes for the Protect, so maybe both of those Tabuleles would probably just attack and protects.
So we see one, there we go, and another Psychic going to go into that Circuitry, so a very dead turn there, and this is the turn where things are really going to start flying. Yeah,
now it really comes down to whether the Tabulele is able to KO the Circuitry with just a single Psychic. I mean, have we seen a Z move yet?
No.
From Raphael's side though, because that could be another way for him to win this game.
No Z move coming out here. So we actually see the Ninetales go for a second Protect. Circuitry also going for a second Protect here. Both failing. Tapulele's Moonblast is going to target into the Ninetales on Rafa's side of the field, picking up the knockout here. So that's one Pokemon down for Rafa. And Tapulele's Psychic is going to launch into that Circuitry. Will it pick up the knockout here in Psychic Terrain? It does.
Okay, so now we're down to Tabulele against Tabulele, but Barry's Tabulele proven to be faster, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have seen Raphael's item yet on the Tabulele, and also we really didn't, I mean now we kind of got confirmation that it is in fact the Choice Scarf here on Barry's end. Yeah, but maybe a potential like Barry on Raphael could still give him the victory there, but it looks like
just out of range.
Yeah, just Barry outspeeding the Tabulele, and Moonblast should be enough to claim this game for him.
Yeah, so the Moonblast and outspeeding that opposing Tapulele puts Barry in a position to take this set home. He will move into the top cut here in the Bilbao Special Championships, and Rafael Montes played so exceptionally well. Commiserations to him, but Barry must be so pleased.
Yeah, certainly. There we can see him really smiling, really happy, cheering there a little bit.